welcome back to Life Lessons in Film.
Hello.
Today we're going to be making sense of life through Minority Report.
I thought we were doing Shrek first.
It follows John Anderton. He runs the whole pre-cog, pre-crime program. It's 2050 thereabouts. There were these people called the precogs that were born with these gifts of being able to, basically in their dreams, predict when murders will happen. They end up hooking them up so that they can now start predicting when crimes happen before they happen so that they can stop people from actually committing the crimes.
And they're trying to get other states to approve the program.
Yeah, they want to make it nationwide.
They're doing their best to show the efficiency of the program and how beneficial it is, and how in those states where the program is running, murder rates have dropped significantly.
Yeah, at one point, one of the indicators that shows who the next victim will be so that they can try and save the victim before the murder happens, it ends up being John. So he goes on the lam, he tries to figure out why he was set up, basically. Eventually, he blows the whole thing wide open, and then they end up releasing the precogs where they can live out their days in peace. And that's about it. Some other things, I suppose, there's some details, but the main dig of the film is a lot to do with like free will versus determinism.
We are arresting individuals who have broken no law.
But they will. The commission of the crime itself is absolute metaphysics. The precogs see the future and they're never wrong.
But it's not the future if you stop it. Isn't that a fundamental paradox?
Yes, it is. You're talking about predetermination, which happens all the time. Why'd you catch that?
Because it was gonna fall.
You're certain?
Yeah.
But it didn't fall. You caught it. The fact that you prevented it from happening doesn't change the fact that it was going to happen.
Should you be able to arrest someone for a crime they didn't commit? You kind of see both sides of it, where the crime rate or the murder rate drops to 0, basically, apart from a couple crimes of passion.
Why the late call?
And we call it a red ball. With crimes of passion, there's no premeditation, so they show up late. Most of our scrambles are flash events like this one. We rarely see anything with premeditation anymore.
People have gotten the message.
A lot of times with crimes of passion, you are not lucid, essentially. You are acting on emotion. Something really shocking is happening to you. So there isn't that intent, that planning.
Yeah.
And so then you can get off with a lighter sentence. But here, that
murder
lighter
is
sentence,
murder.
yeah, that's the main issue for me of morality there. Because ultimately, even though it's a crime of passion, there's no court hearing.
Yeah.
They silence you and that's it.
The only murders that then happen are spontaneous crimes of passion, which means that you're trying to now police kind of an essential part that makes people human.
Yeah.
It's the intense emotion brought up by some kind of traumatic event or something that happens in someone's life. And you're trying to then punish someone for being human in that way.
I was just thinking about things like self-defense, for example. The person wanting to set up John Anderton and make him kill this guy had it so that it seemed this guy that John ends up killing kidnapped his kid and killed him. Then it comes to like, as they're engaging, that actually, no, it was set up.
Don't go through with this. My family gets nothing. Okay? You're supposed to kill me. You said you would.
He? Who's he?
I don't know. He called me in my cell. He told me I'd be released if I went along and my family would be taken care of.
If you did what? If you did what?
If I acted like I killed your kid.
Ultimately, John is like, no, I'm gonna stop.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna kill you. John Anderton does end up actually killing this guy, but he's trying the whole time not to kill him, and the guy's actually forcing him to kill him. So ultimately, it wasn't murder. The guy basically killed himself. So that is an example of the flaw there, because it shows people just killing other people. There's so many moral issues there. It happens in too black and white terms, I feel. It doesn't factor in all of these different details that can come into play when someone eventually murders someone. And those things are very important, because taking someone's life in and of itself is neither good or bad. It always depends on the context. Sometimes maybe someone is saving a kid's life. They see that this person is about to kill this kid or harm this kid.
So they headbutt him off a cliff to save the kid.
Killing is never something that we should be aspiring to do, but in that moment, it can be the right thing to do depending on the circumstances.
So like a lot of things, you try and plug one hole, fix one thing, and then another hole pops up. By trying to make something so airtight, then other issues that you could never maybe foresee or that inevitably come about, you can't have a perfect system.
In general, the justice system right now, there's so many things that it doesn't factor in that people already have an issue with, like the socioeconomic circumstances of people who end up going to jail. Things like, I broke into a store to get myself something to eat. I was on the verge of starvation. My kids were on the verge of starvation. There are people who go to jail for those reasons, for survival's sake.
It's funny how all living organisms are alike. When the chips are down, when the pressure is on. Every creature on the face of the earth is interested in one thing, and one thing only. It's its own survival.
When the chips are down, every living creature cares about one thing, its own self-preservation. So if people break into a bank, that's not something people would just do on a Sunday just for fun. And also, the system is built up like our system currently, and in the movie, it's built up of people still. Even if a lot of it is automated or you've got people hooked up to machines which help predict things, you still have the actual cops enacting the laws, and you have people operating everything. So
and people creating the system.
People creating the system. And any system is only as infallible as the people that work within it, run it, and own it.
Why don't you cut the cute act, Danny boy, and tell me exactly what it is you're looking for?
Flaws.
There hasn't been a murder in 6 years. There's nothing wrong with the system. It is
Perfect, I agree. If there's a flaw, it's human. It always is.
And so you're going to have people that will overlook things for favors for colleagues or friends, or they want to get out of something so that they might erase important records or documents that would incriminate them.
Can't let you take that out of here, Chief. It's against the rules.
Anything else going on in here that's against the rules?
Careful, Chief. You dig up the past, all you get is dirty.
I like you, Chief. You've always been nice to me. I'll give you 2 minutes before I hit the alarm.
The very person who created this whole program used it to get out of the murder that he committed, to erase all traces of him committing the murder. In fact, to actually launch the program, he committed a murder.
You created a world without murder.
Sir, everyone wants your name on a hat. Can you sign these for us?
And all you had to do is kill someone to do it.
I wonder at the end when he says, "Forgive me," Lamar, who's kind of a father figure to the main character, and he ended up creating pre-crime.
Forgive me, John. Forgive me, my boy.
He commits suicide and he says, "Forgive me." And I wonder if it's one of those where Lamar at the beginning was wanting the program to be successful for moral reasons, to save people. And then as his fame and prestige grew, then that's what affected him to do whatever means necessary to continue the program being successful.
I mean, I don't know.
Murder, or if he was always someone that was kind of in it for selfish reasons.
Well, you see, that's the thing though, right? Like sometimes people have this God complex. So you feel like, I know the right thing to do here.
Agatha's mother, Anne Lively. Just a junkie who had a kid once and had to give her up, but surprise, she cleaned herself up. And she wanted her daughter back. She wanted Agatha. And the problem was, without Agatha, there was no pre-crime. She's always been the strongest of the three. You knew without Agatha, you had nothing. Without her, you wouldn't be where you are now, standing there, signing autographs.
Mark, you signed the
all the Peacock's parents were drug addicts, right? And then she cleaned herself up, sobered up, then wanted to get her daughter back and connect with her, right? And so this was a problem for this man. So in his mind, I know better than this lay woman.
Because they're not capable of thinking big picture.
Exactly.
Like I am. I'm able to
She's
zoom
not smart
out.
enough. Yeah, she's not smart enough.
I should decide what is to be done with her life.
Her life, There are people like that in the justice system who are making decisions like that. There's so many entrepreneurs, a lot of philanthropists, I like to call them toxic philanthropists, who have this notion of what is right for other people, what is right for other countries. It's just that notion of like, I know better, you know, and there will be certain things that they hold on to in terms of why it is that they know better. Things like accolades that validated their sense of superiority, where they're from. This guy, before launching this program, he had gone through a certain trajectory in his life that allowed him to be seen as a certain kind of person, a person of good standing in society. And so this is the person who can make those choices, responsible choices that affect everybody in the world. There's never any kind of certainty, I don't feel, in our society that a judge, you know, the president is going to do the right thing. And for me, I guess this attests to the failings of what it is that we look at that determines whether or not a person is a valuable person who could make responsible decisions. Yeah, and in general, people, I find that they're very quick to embrace the idea of this person who's in that position of authority as rightfully there. Looking at this guy who created the Peacock program, everybody was just kind of fawning over him. Oh my God, amazing man. And I was just thinking of so many leaders that you see get that kind of attention and that support from people. And then people just kind of sit back and let them take the reins. Definitely worries me how inactive people become when they finally place and accepted someone as an authority. Okay, yeah, we voted for you. That's it. You do what you gotta do. And we trust that you're gonna do the right thing.
People want more and more comfort in their own lives, but they also want more and more comfort in the pleasant belief that everyone who is in a position of authority or power will make their lives better. We want to believe that the people we put in power to push the world forward, make it safer, make it more advanced, we also want to believe that it's clean.
We can't digest the idea that the person we put in power, someone who we accepted and embraced as worthy of that power, is unclean and that we put him there.
Yeah. We don't want to believe that the new safety we find now comes from murdering drug addicts, enslaving the kids of those addicts, and innocent people getting murdered.
And then, of course, there's a propaganda.
Now, 9 years later, the District of Columbia is the safest city in America. Why? Because pre-crime works. Pre-crime has eliminated the need for conventional detectives. So most of what happens now is the verification and the protection of the future victim.
Can we see the precogs?
Well, the precogs have such a powerful gift that they have to be kept in peaceful seclusion so as not to be distracted from the outside world. But this display should give you some idea of what their daily life is like. The precogs get over 8 million pieces of mail every year. More mail than Santa Claus gets. Each precog has their own bedroom, television, and weight room. It really is wonderful to be a precog.
Maybe it's a school trip. I don't know, but there were kids being told about the program. It's so great, you know, packaged very palatably for kids.
Yeah.
Imagine a world without murder.
I lost my best friend.
I lost my aunt.
I lost my dad.
I lost my father.
I lost my wife.
Just 6 years ago, the homicide rate in this country had reached epidemic proportions. It seemed that only a miracle could stop the bloodshed. But instead of one miracle, we were given 3, the precognitives. Within just 1 month under the pre-crime program, the murder rate in the District of Columbia was reduced 90%.
All these people, they're saved now.
And so you think about that and you hold on to that narrative.
Yeah.
And that narrative allows you to avoid looking at what is the cost of this piece that I'm getting.
Yeah.
It's scary because that kind of stuff happens a lot. Every single time a program or a law or anything is passed, they're motivating factors put to your attention so that you can look at this favorably. And of course, I think that's fair. Anytime anybody suggests something or proposes something, it is right for them to present their views as to why it's going to be beneficial. But there's always the chance that there's something seedy behind that.
Those few, those precious few who survived, they had a gift. I call it a gift. For them, it was more like a cosmic joke. They would wake up in the night, curled up in the corner of the room, screaming, clawing at the wallpaper. Because when these little children, you see, closed their eyes at night, they dreamt only of murder over and over, one after the other.
For the precogs, their gift is actually more of a curse. They are being exploited as like human machines by society at large or a system.
I think that's where, as you're receiving any kind of information, understand that there's a person behind it and people are flawed, and apply your own wisdom as much as you have it. You know what I mean?
And even if it's not meant to be manipulative, maybe the person is well-meaning and has thought through how they're going to improve things for you, but they don't also know your situation as well as you do. They might be totally as selfless as you can be, but it's still not going to actually help your situation. So it's still always important to compare that with, does that make sense where I'm at?
They don't feel any pain. We keep their heads pretty well stocked with dopamine and endorphins. Plus, we maintain careful control over the serotonin levels. Don't want them to drift off into too deep a sleep. They can't be kept too awake either.
It's better if you don't think of them as human.
Don't see them as humans. Pretend they're not human. I thought that was really interesting because, first of all, there's an acknowledgement that we are causing harm here to these people. Just pretend that they're not people. I think of so many different jobs that people do where you kind of do just pretend that this person is not human.
When you're throwing up all over a public bathroom, it's very easy for you to be like, oh, someone will clean it up.
Exactly.
But you're not thinking of it as if another person will have to clean my own mess up.
Yeah.
You wouldn't think of it as just a robot coming in and so it doesn't affect you.
Tomorrow it'll be gone.
You feel no responsibility.
But it's just one of those things that you really kind of do without really realizing that you're doing that. Never thinking about like, how is it that this place is clean every single time I show up, or
how my package shows up to my door
so fast.
How my food shows up. On a conveyor belt. I don't know, some of those restaurants that have conveyor belts.
All of these amenities that you have that make your life so much easier. You never really think about, sit there and think about the people behind them. How a lot of them may not even want to be in that job, but they're just kind of forced to because of certain circumstances, and you just feel lucky not to have to do that kind of job. But that's the extent to which you think about it.
Yeah.
You never go to that other side where you're
Yeah.
thinking about, my God, that person is doing this job.
Yeah.
What is that like?
It hurts everybody because the guy that takes care of the precogs, he's obviously a lonely guy. He's just stuck there all the time. So he kind of wants to bond with the precogs, but they can't get to know him back. And it's kind of in this imbalance of the relationship where he's the one drugging them up. He's the one just kind of talking, and they have no control over what he's doing to them.
He has this very problematic nature of relating to the precogs, especially Agatha. There's that scene where he seems like he's about to kiss her.
Right.
It's just this intimacy, this exploitation of this woman that has absolutely no way to set any boundaries with him.
He hurt you? I missed you so much.
It's okay. Wally's here. Wally's here.
Of course, those dynamics, you see them in a lot of situations, either in workplaces or in homes, people who have power over other people. Never even thinking about how much power they have, because sometimes people don't even realize how much power they have. And then number two, they don't realize that they're actually exploiting or using that power negatively, because there are some people who are very cognizant of their power and are very responsible with it. And then there are some people who truly aren't. And they just enjoy the fruits of this power that they have with no regard whatsoever of how it's impacting the other person or how justified it is. Even this guy, he's not a higher up like the guy who actually created the precog, but there are these levels, you know? It's like him and that other guy who's in charge of all of the prisoners there. I remember when John asks him to get him Agatha's files, he's like, you better give them to me because I know what you've been doing.
Yeah, people exert what little power they have over others that they can, especially in an insecure position where that's the thing that allows them to get something out of their job if it's not a job they particularly enjoy. If they can exert some power over someone, maybe that's enough to get them through the day.
My God. I'd forgotten there were so many.
And to think they'd all be out there killing people if it wasn't for you. Look at them. Look at how peaceful they all seem. But on the inside, busy, busy, busy. Okey pokey.
Is that maybe the best way to treat convicted criminals instead of locking them up in a cell where it's kind of miserable the whole time? This way they can feel happier. But again, it's not real. I don't know. It also feels messed up in a way too.
I guess when you're a prisoner, you lose your agency, I guess, in the grand scheme of things. If you look at the prison system now versus what we're seeing in that movie, I'm pretty sure that someone would be like, well, I'd rather have that. Who knows, like the alternate reality that they experience.
Yeah,
might
catered to them, so it's like they get to live out the rest of their life feeling like they're not in prison or something.
Yeah.
Would you rather be put in a place that's uncomfortable, but at least you know it's real and you know you can try and be rehabilitated in some way, or just live in a fantasy and then be there forever and not know any different? I don't know.
Good evening. You can move the old-fashioned John Anderson. Provides gourmet cuisine. John Anderson. You can use a Guinness right about now.
Stressed out, John Anderson.
Escape from it all, Harrison. Get away, John Anderson.
The movie shows just where technology will take us when it comes to consumerism. How when you walk into a mall, you're scanned.
It's targeted ads. I would not be surprised if this is going to happen in the future. You go into a store that you bought something from, and as you're walking through the store, hey, you might like this based on what you've bought from us before. You already get targeted ads from your browsing history, from your shopping history. That kind of stuff is already happening, but in a less intrusive way. Although, I don't know, I feel like even right now it is quite intrusive. We've talked about how sometimes we'll be having a conversation about a specific topic, and then it shows up in my suggestions.
You'll get emails that'll pop up that'll be related to that. Some company knows everything about you, which is also unsettling.
My father once said to me, you don't choose the things you believe in. They choose you. And there's a reason you're here, John. Had pre-crime been in place just 6 months earlier, the loss you and Lara suffered would have been prevented.
We don't choose the things we believe in, they choose us. It kind of reminds me of other stuff I've heard where it's like, people don't have ideas, ideas have people. There's this constant arguing over which ideas are best. How to organize society, how best to live, where to work, what to wear, what to eat, all this kind of stuff. And really so much of it is not us as people always figuring out the truest truth. Especially the truest truth for us. So much of it is just stuff we didn't even realize we were just being told, and then it just sinks in, and it's really hard to know how much of it was someone else's idea versus your own. You know, if you're a kid, you're being told about pre-crime, and then years later, you don't even understand why you're so staunchly for pre-crime. We all like to think we just come up with all these beliefs from just our reasoning and what makes sense to us. But
you're waiting to watch a certain movie and there is some kind of
yeah.
ad that comes up. You don't remember it after the movie, but it's there. It's
but you
stuck.
remember the feeling it made you, or the underlying thing of like, oh, I need to get a Rolex, or I'm not attractive enough. And later on, you try and fix that thing that you thought about during the ad. Much more malleable than I think we like to admit. It would be good and bad. But anyway, that's some stuff that we thought about Minority Report. But what did you guys think? Let us know. Share your thoughts on our thoughts in the comments down below. We'd love to know. Until next time, thanks for watching.
I'd like a word with my husband.
You're not authorized. How did you get in here?